So to my surprise, and this is very unexpected, I've ended up buying another watch on a cheaper side. So I've mentioned before, my next major purchase will be my 40th birthday present to myself, but that's not until next year. I bought my Zenith last year, sold a few watches, and I did do an update, state of the collection video, but yeah, I wasn't expecting to buy anything else. This is a watch I actually remember seeing a year ago and just thinking it was a bit too punchy price-wise for what it was for me anyway. So it came up on one of the forums I'm a member on at a really good price. And this is just literally my initial impressions. I got the watch today, so this won't be a very long video. I'll do a proper video once I've had at least 2 weeks to wear it. So it is a Seiko. It is the SPB213J1. It's one of the limited edition watches. I don't usually do the unboxing stuff sometimes. It's a little bit better than I expected. I mean, you've got the outer card, which is just what you expect. I quite like to have that, so I'm glad the seller kept that. The box is a little bit nicer than I expected, to be honest with you. I mean, it's not leather or anything like that, but it's well put together. No issues with that at this price point, and I'm sure most of you are aware this watch, I think it retailed for around £1,100, £1,200. One of the other reasons I bought it is I only paid £725 for it. And the cheapest ones in the UK are around £900 to £1,000. So if it doesn't work out for me, I can sell it, and I shouldn't lose any money. So the watch isn't in here. Booklets, I'm not going to go through the booklets. You get your card. I don't know what that's made out of, but not any kind of plastic. Maybe it is a plastic, I don't know. It feels quite cheap. It is what it is, it's fine. Foam, well, the watch isn't there. Cushion, absolutely fine. I mean, for an 1,100-1,200 quid box, I like the fact it's got limited edition and its prospects and stuff in there. I'm not gonna lie, the box is actually nicer than I thought it would be. So that was a pleasant initial surprise. So the actual watch itself, there's loads of information out there around these, so I'm not going to go crazy with all the history, and I'm just not. it's just not what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to give my experience of what I think of it now, and then obviously I'll update that in a couple of weeks. So one of the main reasons I like this watch so much is I've been trying for a long time to find a white dial watch. This is actually a silver dial that looks white in certain lightings. And I've wanted a white dial watch in the collection for a long time. I've mentioned before about the Polar Explorer 2. I've had a couple of chances to buy it and didn't pull the trigger. I bought a Zelos GMT, a Zelos Horizons GMT with a white dial, but the quality wasn't there for me, so I sold that watch. And yeah, this one came up a year ago. I wasn't going to pay £1,100, but at £725, and I'm absolutely confident I'm not going to lose my money on it. I was more than happy to pay that price. One of the other reasons for it is I have found the dimensions that I like through my watch collecting experience, and it pretty much hits them on the head. So it's 40 millimeters, 40.5 they quote, diameter. It's 20 millimeter lug width, tapering down to 18 millimeters, then back up to 20 at the clasp. And I've seen different readings about this. It's supposed to be 13.2 millimeters thick. I've seen some people measuring their calipers and it's 13.8, 13.2, 13.5, but it's under 14 millimeters, which is really my personal Goldilocks dimensions. So I really didn't know what to expect. As I say, the box was really nice. The finishing is far better than I expected, with a really high polish. Again, I've seen people saying it's a Soratsu polishing that comes from Grand Seiko. Not 100% sure on that, but it's very, very nice. I like the way the case thickness is broken up by a really thin brushed element there. I've not had drilled lugs before, so it'll be interesting to see. I do have a rubber strap coming. It'll be interesting to see how easy it is to change the straps. The dial is absolute. It's an absolute belter. It's nicer than I thought it would be. It's got a very gentle sunburst effect. I will get some shots of it in natural sunlight for the proper review, but it's absolutely lovely. Sweep of the hand's a little bit odd. I think they slowed it down to increase the power reserve. But again, we'll talk about the movement, because that's one element where, I don't know, we'll see what we think about that. The bracelet itself is far better than I expected. I think I mentioned before on my Zelos review, the links didn't articulate back in on themselves, but on this one they do. So they articulate a lot both ways. So it's an extremely comfortable bracelet. The whole watch almost looks titanium with the special coating that Seiko put on it to increase scratch resistance. So again, I'm quite interested to see how well the scratch resistance properties work with the treatment that Seiko put on it. What you do notice is when you do bend the bracelet, a true test of a really nice bracelet is that the links don't touch each other. They do touch each other on this bracelet. So I mean that like here in the ends. On my other watches that doesn't quite happen, unless obviously you've worn a watch for a long time and then it's got some slack in it. But on this one straight away they do touch. So, you know, it's not the end of the world. It's a nice bracelet. I will be comparing this to my Longines that I had, Longines Conquest, and my Zelos when I do a proper review. It's quite a nice case back. Nothing crazy or particularly special, but nice enough. The watch head, the dial, and the bezel is really where it's at. And the biggest surprise to me was the bezel feel. So listen to this. So it's a 120 click bezel. It does line up, which everyone was saying could be a potential issue, and it feels incredible. Absolutely blown away with that bezel. Again, I'll come to it, but my Zelos, the bezel was not great. This is absolutely incredible. It's stiff enough to know that you're doing it, and it shouldn't just do it by itself. But I don't know. It's obviously not as good as my friend's Rolex, which I've had to play with this Submariner, but it is an exceptional bezel. I'm absolutely blown away by that. The colour of the bezel, again, I'll have to get it out in some natural light. But it kind of goes, I think someone described it as like a petrol blue, and that's bang on. It kind of goes bluey, purpley to black, depending on the light it's in. And it's an absolute belter as well. I do need to pay more attention to the hands, because apparently they're brushed on one side and polished on the other, but I need to spend more time with the watch really. The only disappointment really, and I kind of expect it to be, is the clasp. So this element is milled, which feels quite nice. I'm absolutely positive this bit here is stamped, and listen to this. It's not great. And people have said this bit is milled, but I'm convinced that's stamped as well, because if you look on the inside, that looks like stamped to me. And then when you put this down, let me get this away so I can actually do it properly. You can see and you can hear. It's just not particularly well constructed. When you put this one on top of it, it doesn't do it. So maybe that's part of the reason. I don't know. People have mentioned diver's extension on these before. Again, I'll go into more detail about that, but that's poor. It feels very much like an afterthought. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to do it. It's so flaming hard to get open. Oh, did it? Flipping heck. That is 100% stamped. You can tell for sure that's stamped. And it lets down the watch. It's not needed. I did actually have a quick look and see if I could just take it off and put an extra link in its place, but not possible. So you do get 4 points of micro adjustment, which actually do give it a perfect, literally a perfect fit on my wrist. So I've got a 7-inch wrist. And what I will say is the diver's extension looks quite nice from the underside. It's just when you have it out, it looks awful. So it does look nice. No issues with that. It's extremely comfortable. I've been wearing it all day, taking it out for a walk and stuff already. It's quite heavy. It's heavier than I expected. I will weigh it. But it's very, very comfortable. It wears heavier than I thought it would. But overall, at the moment, initial impressions, clasp aside, I say I have ordered a rubber strap for it. It's better than I expected the clasp to be, but I was hoping for more, if that makes sense. So all of the quality seems to be, oh yeah, by the way, another thing people talk about very, very tight tolerance at that end, but then tiny bit of movement at that end, but I think it's fine. I've got no issues with that. I do have some issues with the way the bracelet goes onto the case. I'll talk about the bezel grip and the feel and the crown actuation and stuff more when I've had it for longer. I also need to spend more time with the movement, see how accurate it is. That's one element where I'm a little bit nervous, because I think the tolerances are something ridiculous, like -15 +25, or the other way around. But apparently you can have them, what's it called? You take them to a watch dealer or a watchmaker, sorry, and they can actually make the movement more accurate for you. I do know the word I'm going for, but I've completely lost it. So if that does that, if it is particularly inaccurate, I do want to try and keep this for a longer period of time, just to see how I feel about it. I know I can sell it and not lose any money, so that's good to know. But yeah, as a result, if the movement isn't quite as accurate as I would like, I will do some research and see if I can go and get it made more accurate and the tolerances made better on it in different positions. But yeah, I need a couple of weeks to play with it. Initial impressions, without getting too carried away, it's comfortable, it looks fantastic. I'm really hoping to scratch my white dial itch. The case head itself is just phenomenal. I'll go into more detail around that again when I look at it. The bracelet is way beyond my expectations. The clasp is okay. Yeah, I just need to spend some more time with it and really see what I think. But very, very pleased at the moment. Fingers crossed I'll be able to keep this in a collection longer than I've kept other watches at this price point. So it's kind of just continuing with the experimentation, really. I would like to get a Grand Seiko soon. The new Grand Seiko releases have come out and their GMT looks phenomenal. So this is kind of a high-end Seiko. It's not Grand Seiko levels, but you know, it's a good opportunity to explore the brand at a reasonable price point. Any questions or anything you'd like me to know? I know what I know. You don't know what I know. Anything you would like to know for when I do a proper video in a couple of weeks, please leave a comment and I will try and get that included. Thanks, everyone.